All right, everybody, welcome back to the podcast. Today I have a very special guest, I'll call you an internet friend turned, finally real life friend when we get to meet up over time. So that was really great. Everyone, this is Andrew Coates. Where do I even begin, man? Personal trainer, online coach, writer. I'm sure you'll have a book come out at some point. You're just putting out content like a beast. But let everyone know who doesn't know you. Let them know who you are and kind of what you do.
All right. I can't imagine a book. I don't know where I'd find the time. Maybe someday things will change. Two, I always find this concept of like the way that the fitness industry, we meet people at our travels or connect with people over social media, fitness professionals. And we feel like we almost have to qualify the nature of the friendship as something that's different from someone that you know in person. I look at the last several years of interacting, traveling, what have you. I've got a lot of really good friends that I enjoy. We have a lot in common. It's great to reconnect over, again, other events that you travel to. And like, think about a lot of our closest friends in our world, especially when you move away or, you don't get a lot of time together. You still consider them some of your closest friends. So I don't see it any differently. And I know there are some people who make this big distinction that, other trainers are not your real friends. And I think that's absolute bullshit. I don't know why some people need to kind of qualify it that way. If someone enriches your life, you have a lot of common ground, then a friend is a friend. And I mean, I'm 43, so I grew up in the world before, social media was a big thing. So I understand the distinction. But for me, especially if there's a lot of that potential bond over trips and what have you, you can go and I went and spoke at an event in August. I'll get to my story. I will. I just thought this was fun.
Go for it.
And I ran into my buddy Jeb Stewart Johnston, who Jeb I met in 2017 at a Kansas City Fitness Summit. Just stayed connected with him through the ether. He's been a guest of the podcast in the past. And, got to see Jeb, and it was like awesome times. And we hung out. We did a bunch of workouts together. It's like old friends. Right? So, origin story, the superhero stuff. I was bit by a spider and then all the superpowers. I started as a personal trainer at 32 years of age. I was asked to work at this local gym that I was working out at. Off the floor, I kept saying no until I finally said, okay. And I remember being totally overwhelmed with it and going, holy shit, like, what have I got myself into? That turned into, getting filled up with clients early, having a good time with the training experience, enjoying it, finding that referrals and renewals were easy. And what was a job, something I fell into, became a really serious passion. Committed to continuing education very early in the process. I worked for a commercial gym for 6 years until that sort of environment soured. And then I went private as a contractor at a friend's facility of All Strength here in Edmonton, Alberta, which led to opening the doors to other things, a podcast, writing for my own website, which led to an invitation to write for Team Nation, which led to an invitation to write for True Coach and Generation Iron. And I've got some other stuff in the works that I'll reveal as it goes. I've written for the PTDC. And that turned into me and Dean Somerset, who's also local here, hosting a conference in 2019, the Evolve Canadian Strength Symposium. A lot of fun. We lost it last 2 years. The state of the world wasn't going to happen. I will look at rebooting it this year. That's one of my intentions for this fall. And then, I started getting invitations to speak at events. So this event in Spokane, the Inland Empire Fitness Conference. And I just got an email to speak at Kabuki Strengths Education Week in January. That's a virtual event. So kind of cool. I've spoken for my friend Chris Hitchco's Show Up internship. So it'll be kind of cool if that opens up a little bit. So it's weird, humble beginnings that kept turning into other cool opportunities. I think in large part just because I kept traveling and meeting people and creating connections. And then obviously social media, while I think some people think, someone blows up on social media and then all these other things start happening because of social media, often it's a reverse. And a lot of people who've been really successful in our space, I know you probably very plugged in to say Jordan Syatt stuff. Jordan Syatt has a massive social media following, but Jordan was writing articles for years and he was interning at famous gyms and had powerful connections. It was training Gary Vaynerchuk and had a great YouTube presence before, Instagram blew up for him and he got a lot of more mainstream attention.
Yeah. You touched on a lot of things there. And I want to go back to the beginning when you said trainers shouldn't have other trainers as friends. Someone actually said that to you?
It's not that they say you shouldn't have them as friends, although there's a different belief system that, other trainers are not your friends. Let's go there, because they see them as competitors, and it's my business. I have been sent so many referrals from other trainers that I know here in the city. Trainers who weren't close geographically, trainers on mat leave, trainers who had left the industry. Larry, my client Larry, who's 70, was all over my social media. A couple of young fellows who used to come to the old gym were inspired to start personal training because of my example in that gym. Something they very explicitly said. So they did it for a little while. Eventually they left. One of them had trained Larry, as a family friend. And then when Larry wanted to come back and get into fitness again, Ian reached out to me and asked, hey, would you, meet with my former client and talk to him? And it was a great fit. And without that relationship, I'm not working with Larry, who's, superstar on my social media, right? If anybody hasn't seen him, just scroll through my Instagram a little bit and you'll see him pulling a 412-pound trap bar deadlift recently, his new best. He's really excited about that. I can't count the positive benefits, the inspiration, the ideas, the feeling of belonging in a grander community from the time I've spent traveling, getting to know people in the industry. And then when you've had the chance to meet people through the internet first and then in person later on, I've got a lot of really good friends that's the way it started out. It's kind of like dating, I suppose.
Yeah. I mean, I guess it comes down to the mindset of the individual of like seeing other trainers as competition. Maybe I'm different, maybe because I entered the fitness space a little bit later as well. When I think I was like 25. I didn't really see it that way. Like I worked at the gym with other coaches, but I'm like, you know what? Like that's them, I'm me. Like I control what I can help who I can help, but I'm not like a shark here. I'm trying to like steal other people's clients, stuff like that. So I've never understood that. And I've made so many connections online. I did Follow Fridays for a while. I was just shouting out a bunch of other coaches. And I think it's important because if someone or you think is a good coach, I think it's obligated, like you're obligated to share that, to help people in the general public see that there's good coaches out there that's outside of their world, or getting them away from the potential influencers that are in their Instagram feed right now. If you're sharing good coaches and you're helping spread the word of the good people, it only helps everyone out. And in general, it helps the fitness industry because we look better because we are coming from a place of help. We're not coming from a place of buy my shit or stuff like that.
Oh, totally. I love what you just said there. I, occasionally get messages from people who are interacting with my social media about how, they certainly feel that most fitness professionals or most of the fitness industry is somehow, kind of a negative thing for them. And I realize they're also not super plugged into a lot of, the people I've followed and absorbed their work and friends of mine that I've met through my interactions across the industry. You look at people like, a Tony Jellicoe or a Kelly Coffey. There is such a long list of Melody Schoenfeld, Megan Calloway. I could go on and on forever. A lot of the really established people, all the former T Nation people. There's so many good people with integrity who are doing positive things, who are sharing awesome messages that break away from a lot of the stereotypical bad, that I think it's an important thing that we share those other people. Not to mention, you said it yourself, I think I try to approach this stuff with a pure abundance mindset. I'm as busy as I want to be. I am funneling away business because I can't take anything more on right now. And I just had a text message from a guy I know wants to come and train with me. I gotta all right, I gotta figure out how the hell I can take care of this guy. So I'm not worried about if I share someone else's profile, they're going to go train with some coach that, I share. But if they do, because they find that person is a great fit for them, hell yeah, I'm super happy, because in the day, I want people to have a positive outcome. I am more than taken care of. So there's no downside for me to share with other people.
I love it. And I think that's where it comes a big difference of, I think a lot of rookie, especially online coaches, they're just trying to, fish and just catch as many people as they can, maybe forcing relationships, maybe forcing to try to work with as many people as possible, where then the quality of their work goes down, or they're not able to serve everyone because, every coach isn't able to serve every population, nor should they. So I think it's important that, like I said, keep spreading the word of good coaches. And you've done that, I think, a handful of times at least, where you'll post about 10 coaches who, even I'm like, I'm pretty plugged in, but I'm like, I don't know more than half of these people. I'm like, okay, let me go follow them, see what they're about. And I think there's more than enough clients for all of us. I think that's where people don't get it. We're not all going to have a 100-person roster, nor do we need one. So, I'm glad that you share that message. And I think did that happen? Like, so when you started at 32, did you go into the industry with that kind of mindset, or you just kind of went in with like, okay, I'm just going to do my work, do the best I can do, not worry about all this stuff?
I'm always very hesitant to state what my mindset was at a particular point in time in the past, because our memories of these things are not concrete, but the more that we go back and interact with them, the more that we change them. That's how memory works. And we have hindsight bias, and we're influenced by our attitudes and where we are today. And sometimes I kind of catch myself thinking that I felt the way I do now from the very start, but that's impossible because I didn't have the perspective I have now.
Sure.
I could never have imagined a lot of the cool things that are happening in my career. So I definitely feel like early on, very, very early, I had a positive relationship with coworkers. As a little time went on, I began to realize that some of the coworkers in this particular environment were very selfish. One particular problem was there was a cluster of them that were involved in aggressive multi-level marketing recruitment schemes, and personal training was not their main focus. They were using it and the facility as a way to funnel their other interests.
Wow.
And that created a lot of conflict. There was also more than an uncomfortable amount of sexual harassment, inappropriate behavior in that particular environment. That's not to paint all of those environments in a bad light. This individual place was bad. And early on, because it was my livelihood and I was taking care of my clients, it was a challenge to address it. As time passed, I tried to be more assertive, aggressive in dealing with it, which led to conflict, which eventually led me to say, I need to leave this environment because harassment and hostility was coming back at me very aggressively. So, it's challenging especially for a new coach who's dependent upon that. And when you work for a commercial gym, your clients are technically, the clients of the gym, even though they're relationships with you. So leaving is not as simple as snap of your fingers and everybody just follows you. So I recently put this up in a post. I alluded to it. It's really important to still have an exit strategy if you're ever put in a position like that. Early in my career, I was definitely more pro go work for a commercial gym and you can have a good career long-term. I still think trainers can gain a lot of valuable experience working for such facilities. And if you find a good one with a good manager, with a good corporate culture that doesn't tolerate any of these sort of problems that I described, great. You can probably last a long time there. I think if you're really serious about a long-term career and not just a job on your way to becoming a firefighter or a paramedic or something else noble, but that's truly your interests lie elsewhere, you want to be a physical therapist, then I really do think that you should lay the foundation to have an independent career. You'll be paid better if you're doing it well at the very least. But not everybody has access to the same kind of opportunities that I certainly did with Evolve, and the nature of the rent and the facility, the setup, and how the owner operates. It's been a blessing. It's also why I've openly endorsed other trainers, at least on a local level, to come in and set up their businesses under that umbrella.
Yeah, you make a good point. I always knew, I didn't always know I was going to be a trainer, but I knew when I wanted to be a trainer, I was like, okay, I know I'm going to work at a commercial gym for a while, get my reps in, essentially, practice on the floor, build some relationships. But deep down, I knew I wasn't going to be there very long. Whether it was stories from other people who'd worked in the industry, just seeing things for myself. I'm like, well, the pay isn't the best. The hours aren't entirely up to me. And then at the time, like, we were having a kid. So I'm like, well, my time is being taken away from my family, like all day, all the prime hours of, connecting with my son and my wife. I'm like, okay, well, then I'm like, okay, maybe this isn't, the route for me long-term. But I think building relationships was one of the best things I did there, because while I didn't expect everyone to follow me, was online or to another gym, I knew that I could, keep working with a few people. And I think I don't know if it's a testament to just work ethic at the time or just being open-minded, because I really went into this career with no plan B. I'm like, I have a tendency of just jumping into things. I'm like, I want to do this. My family couldn't talk me out of it. My wife support me through whatever. I'm like, you know what, let's go. And I'll talk to coaches now that are just starting out. I have a hard time sometimes telling them what to do, because I don't really remember much of when I was there with them, creating that online program or creating a welcome package. And for me, that was only like 6 or 7 years ago. When you're 43 now, at 32, I know social media has been a big difference maker. But how did things look for you then versus how they look now? Like, do you still do you do some online coaching now, or is it strictly? I know it's mostly in person.
If anything, my online coaching's grown, although I still try to keep it capped off a certain amount because I have an absurd in-person schedule. I definitely keep my online coaching capped at 10 at the most, so because I want to do a really good job with it. I know other people are really passionate about growing their online, and I think that's fine. I like working with people in person, and I split my days. My daytimes are at Evolve Strength, and but just at the start of COVID, I set up a home gym facility studio. And so my evenings and weekends are now in my home studio. My clients love having that option. So the daytime people love it Evolve. The evening people love it at home. Some double up both because the way their schedules work. That's been great. I don't even know how to qualify the difference between, how things started 11 years ago and now. I mean, the industry's completely changed. The options you have. I mean, back then, the option, you go work for a commercial gym, or maybe you go at some private studio. I mean, I look back and I'm actually really fortunate how things started. I was very lucky. One of the weird things that happened, I think, shaped how busy I got early was one of the first managers I had, and he and I are still really, really good to this day. He's a good dude. He set me up with a false expectation of what the average trainer was doing. It was like in terms of session numbers a month, sales and income and that sort of stuff. And ultimately the picture he painted was not the average, but the absolute top. And so I bought into this whole idea of, all right, this is how much you work, this is how many sessions you do. So it just became something that I did. There was no governor on any other limitations. I just simply said, okay, this is what I go out and do. And I went out and did it and continued to behave in the way that kept my schedule full. And then, you look around after, a couple of years, you realize, like, wait a second, like, why is only a few other people in the company in the same sort of space in terms of busy, and, the club, why am I pulling far and away more sessions than almost everybody else in that club? But it just became my normal. And so for me, I don't know how to shift it down a gear. I just like being that busy. It's how I function, which is different from someone who's, got, a family, young family and kids and whatever. But it's weird to think back on how much things have changed. Yeah, there was no social media, or limited when I first started. I did post on Facebook almost like a blog style on a semi-frequent basis, plus videos of my clients. So I've been doing that for a very long time. And that created something that Jonathan Goodman talks about in some of his books, top of mind awareness amongst my community. And you may think that a lot of the personal connections you have aren't paying attention or don't care about your fitness stuff. But after a few years of it, or several years, then they start messaging going, hey, I wanted to talk to you about coming into the gym and learning to work out. And that's happened numerous times. It's one of the reasons why when trainers start out and they think, oh, I need to create a separate account for my Instagram for my fitness. Fuck no, do not fucking do that. Absolutely do not do that, because you're losing out on all those contact points of all of the people from your world. They're your base. They're the starting pool of referrals, referees. People will funnel stuff to you. Even if you don't think they're interested in fitness, you want to become their go-to fitness person. Hold on a second. There's a phone call trying to come in. I'll have to decline that. Thank you. All right. It's home. My mom's trying to call me. I'll get back to her after. Where was I?
Separating accounts.
You really want to be top of mind to all of the connections from previous jobs. A lot of people that worked with me in my previous career, both coworkers and clientele who I had on Facebook, have trained with me. I have active people to this day in referral chains because of those connections. There have been people who, I grew up in Newfoundland, so I'm from the east coast of Canada, even though I live in Edmonton. I've got people from Newfoundland who've reached out to me to do online coaching work. I really believe in trying to connect with as many people as possible in a positive way. The first time I went to a fitness conference, again, 2017 in Kansas City, I didn't even do it deliberately. I just did it and met a lot of these people and added everybody to Facebook, and these connections stuck to where there's so many different examples. My friend Tim Arndt, who was there in 2017, met him. Turns out he's got a conference, a little one he was doing in Spokane. I went in 2018, 2019. I met people like Brad Dieter and James Krieger and a lot of other cool people. And then, Tim wanted a presenter for this year. So he asked me to present. That opens a big door in my career. My pal, Jeff Aker, I met him in 2017 at, the Kansas City Fitness Summit. He's in Calgary. So he's the provincial director of the NSCA. So he was bringing in, events every year. So that's how I got to know Chad Landers through two of those events, right? He's a good friend. Or Robert Linkle, who's an amazing fitness professional. Like anyone listening, like go and look up these people. Robert, especially if you're training older adults, like go follow Robert Linkle. He was the headline speaker I can't remember. I think it was like 2019. So Robert and I became instant friends, and he's been a podcast guest a bunch of times. And it goes back to making friends through the internet stuff as well. But it starts with being willing to actually authentically connect with people. One of the best ways is to connect with them through social media, and don't connect with or don't do anything with the expectation of something in return. I could never have imagined my meeting Tim that 4 years later he'd ask me to speak at his event. It wasn't my agenda. I wasn't thinking that far ahead. It's just a connect with like minds. A lot of cool stuff has happened ever since. I connected with Danny Sugart, who is a T Nation writer. I just wanted to come on my podcast. She turned around and started diving into stuff on my website and said, "Hey, would you come?" She's asking me. I've told the story a few times on podcasts. She's like all sheepish and worried. I'll say, "No, would you consider, writing for us at T Nation?" I'm like, "Are you fucking kidding me? I've been reading you guys with my breakfast for a day." Well, at that point, it would have been about 8 years. And I'm like, hell yeah, right? And here's another example of this kind of stuff about like not setting limits. I get asked to write for T Nation, so I'm thinking, okay, cool. I'm thinking about all the people like your Tony Gellicors, your Ben Brunos, who are like John Russins, Nick Tubanello's, Lee Boyce, who are like long-time T Nation writers. I'm like, okay, cool. Now I'm a T Nation writer. So get them an article. They love the first one. I keep setting. Then I realize along the way, there's a whole bunch of people who have like submitted one or done a few and fallen off. I'm like, oh, I didn't even think that was an option. My attitude is like, I'm in now. I'm just going to keep saying it. And, one of the editors recently is like begging me for more stuff. He's like, "I'm not getting a lot of great submissions here. Can you get us some more?" I'm like, okay, cool. Done.
Nice. And it's attributed both, and you alluded to it. It's your work ethic and your open-mindedness to just connecting with people. Like I witnessed it firsthand in Seattle. Like there is not a bone in your body where you're shy to just shake someone's hand and say hi. Like my name's Andrew, which is great. And like I've become more of like an introverted type where I'm socially awkward. So it was cool to see, you were just going up to people and just making that connection. And I think that's something a lot of people miss, myself included. But it's also, there's almost been 2 years worth of not being able to do that, which I think might be hard for people moving forward, or any online coaches who feel like they're going to stay all the way online. They don't have to go out and meet people. And I think that's backwards. Like online connections are great. Being in person, I think, adds another level to it all. Like you and I got to chat more in depth. I met Sam Forget. That guy's like one of the coolest guys I met. Like just little things like that.
I was just thinking about, I was going to mention Sam, right? Yeah. Sam's spending a lot of time with him. And he and I have been on Instagram before, but I met the pre-thing, the early day. I'm sitting down hanging out with Martin Rooney, because Martin and I met in 2017 at one of these things. And Sam comes up and introduces himself. I'm like, "Oh yeah, Sam, I know who you are. Great." And so we hung out a whole bunch. I had a thought there I want to grab onto. Okay, anybody who goes to one of these events, I mean, two big thoughts. One, the presenters overwhelmingly are nice, down-to-earth people. So, don't be starstruck or afraid to go talk to them. I always tell the story about meeting Pete Dupuis, who I've loved his stuff. I've listened to him on podcasts, met him in 2017. And at the time, Pete's a quieter personality anyway. But he's sort of sitting off to the side. And, Brett Contreras was there, and Spencer Nadolski was there, and Alan Aragon, and, for all the
massive names, yeah.
Some of them got their asses in a little bit of trouble along the way. But I mean, these were like the headliners of the event, and any other number of awesome people as presenters. But I think Pete, because he's not a trainer, he's the business owner and part co-owner of Crisis Sports Performance. I assume that he was sort of felt a little bit outside of the community in a room full of trainers. So I sat down with him and I was like, "Listen, like I've been listening to your podcast. I really love your stuff. You're one of the speakers I was most looking forward to." And, Pete's become a pal and someone, like, if I call him up now, it's like, "Hey, come on the podcast, you'll do it in a heartbeat, right? And this is Pete fucking Dupuis. Like, the guy's a pretty big deal in their industry.
Yeah.
So treat them like they're normal, everyday people. And yeah, I've met a few out of hundreds of presenters who had their nose in the air and a stick up their ass and, you know, and attitude and ego. But the vast majority are really nice, down-to-earth people with more than a healthy dose of imposter syndrome. Yeah. And the second point is, if you're going to these events, also don't just fawn over the speakers, but there are so many other people who are like, maybe you don't know what path they're on right now, or they're on the same path you're on. And a lot of those people have been massive supporters in all the cool stuff I've been doing. You know, I've met a lot of people who've turned around and asked me to come on their podcast, like you. Sam, I just was on Sam Forget's podcast a couple of days ago. And you never know. It's not about like investing in someone in a quote junk bond to see who like hits like superstar status, but you never know whose career is going to kind of explode and blow up. And you know, you've been there from the early days supporting them. So there's a lot of good stuff that'll come out of just being authentic and genuine with people. And it's not because you have an expectation of something in return for you.
I'm glad, you brought that up earlier. And I'm glad you rehashed that. You're not in getting in the fitness industry. You're not in it to get something out of people. So we all get into this industry to help people. And I think connecting with coaches is just another way to, you know, broaden your network and help more people. Like you said, referrals from other coaches. You can refer out if you need to. Podcast collaborations. You did T Nation collaborations with like Ben Mudge and stuff. Like there's other ways to kind of continue to grow.
That's one of my favorite things to do is Ben, who's cool. So I met Ben through the internet because Jonathan Goodman tagged us each in a post. He was promoting other people, Abundance Mindset.
Yeah.
I followed him and he followed me back and we got to chatting. He's the nicest guy ever. If you guys aren't following Ben, Ben is cool. He's big following, down to earth, looks like Chris Hemsworth. But he's got cystic fibrosis. So you get to follow his journey of kind of like the challenge he's been dealing with. He just had this new medication. He's like, can breathe better again. He's just like elated. So I thought, hey, this would be kind of a cool idea. And it happened because T Nation actually shared a quote of Ben's. And I'm like, oh, and I look but I didn't see any article work. So I messaged them. I'm like, hey, if I do something like this with Ben, you guys want it? And they're like, yeah, oh, we thought he was already one of our contributors. So Ben thought this was a cool idea. I got him to do the videos because he's pretty and he plays well on video. And I did most of the writing on that one and they loved it. They want more of it because Ben on video, again, just rocks. And so Ben and I will do more, but it gets him under their umbrella. So all of a sudden you've got a guy with a huge profile. And I did the same thing with Luca Hocevar, who's a guy who industry renowned, doesn't need it, but has always loved T Nation, busy dude. So we do something together, pull Tony Gentlecore into it. And that way he gets that feather in his cap and he goes on to do a few more pieces. And, you know, I've got something in the works now with Tim DiFrancesco. We actually submitted it, but it was T Nation loved it so much they wanted to break it into a bunch of parts and like do more with it. So it's actually going to be just Tim's project because it was a lot of his idea work. Now, if you don't know who Tim DiFrancesco is, well, he owns TD Athletes Edge in Salem, but he spent 6 years as head strength and conditioning coach of the LA Lakers, working with Kobe Bryant and that group. So Tim is a really smart guy, doctor of physical therapy, strength coach, again, another guy worth following. And so if you create these opportunities, he's excited. He's got the chops to do it. He just never happened to like submit or had that relationship. T Nation love the idea of bringing like really established people under their banner and everybody wins.
Yeah. And that's the mindset you live by. That's what I've seen. I mean, we've been friends for a couple of years now, I'd say, online, just connecting. And that's always the mindset you bring to it. It's just like, you know what, I'm here to help and I'm here to help other coaches too. And we're all just in it to win it.
And it's not contrived or deliberate in that sense. But when I've gotten this response a lot, when people see that you genuinely want to share and support other people, they're drawn to that. They like that.
Yeah.
Whereas if I'll tell a little story here. If someone just seems like all they're interested in doing is pure self-promotion, you know, absolutely just all about themselves. I told a story recently and I'll tell it again. I won't say a name, but I had a guy with what seemed like a really big following on Instagram follow me. So I followed him back. I'm like, okay, this guy's media looks really polished, big following. And so I remember I put up one of those posts you said where, you know, I list off 9 people should follow, you know, for a certain reason. And he comes in and comments and inserts himself in. It's like, hey, and follow me too. And it's like, my response was, dude, that's not how this works. It's you got to go about this stuff with pure, but it's mindset, right? It's about sharing other people, not inserting yourself into it. So, and after a little while, I realized he'd unfollowed me. I'm like, okay, fine, fuck, whatever, no big deal. Pops up again, and several months later, he's following again, reaches out to me. He's like, hey man, would you come on my podcast? I'm like, yeah, sure, I'll come to your podcast. And he's like, do you think right away? He's like, do you think I could come on yours? I'm like, no. Now, meanwhile, what I also discovered, because I looked closer, is a guy with, well, just say 75,000 followers is getting between 30 and 100 likes per post.
Wow.
That's a horrendous ratio. So what it means is that he's bought his following. So he doesn't really have a following. He went out and purchased followers. Now, if anybody needs to understand a reason not to buy followers, to create the illusion that you're popular, here's the way that Instagram works. It will show your post to a limited number of your followers. If that limited number, like it, comment on it, save it, share it, then that's telling the algorithm, hey, this is good. We'll show it to more people, and it gets featured more on the algorithm. If very few interactions happen, the algorithm will kill it and no one will see it. If the majority of your followers are bots that don't interact or like dead accounts, then all of your posts are going to get no engagement, are going to not get fed into the algorithm. So it's a clue that most likely someone has bought their followers. It can also happen with someone who had built a following a long time ago, like years ago, had dropped off in terms of their consistent engagement or shifted the way that they engage to where the accounts that are following them are sort of still sitting there, but they're no longer engaging over time. They're engaging other stuff. That person's account is not showing up, and then they get no engagement. So that can also happen too. But more than likely, especially if someone's really like, if their media looks really polished and they're like consistent, they bought their following.
Yeah. And like it's a percentage of their following too. Like the 75,000, and it's only showing it to maybe 10% anyways. But if most of the 75,000 is fake, no one's seeing it anyway. So you're hurting yourself essentially to do that.
You're absolutely hurting yourself. And I've seen a lot of coaches make this mistake. And one pal of mine recently, he messaged me and I noticed he started a new account, and just privately he had told me, I made that mistake before and I'm just going to restart fresh. I'm like, oh man, I get it. I understand. But yeah, I really encourage coaches not to fall into that trap or play that game. Another clue, and you'll see this a lot of the time with people who are like around the fitness industry, who are very influencery, like really, really like that kind of stereotype. You notice that their Instagram following is very stable. And sometimes you just get kind of general awareness. Some people are not clued at all. I tend to notice this stuff. And all of a sudden, they were really stable for a while. And then there's a spike of about 10, 20, 30,000 followers. And then they're stable. And there's another spike. They're buying their followers in spike, because like some of the stuff that I posted, it doesn't matter how super viral it goes. I've never had a single day with more than 500 new followers. Yeah. And so they're
like buying in little increments to just slowly grow the page, but fakely grow their page essentially. Yeah.
Usually what they do is they buy them in bursts, right? And then you see these large jumps.
I don't see the point of it. I think it's such a waste of time and money, and just
it's creating the fake sense, because as much as a vanity metric, when we have to admit, when we look at social media and we see someone's following, we do judge their worthiness of whether or not I should follow that person based on the number of their followers. I especially notice a lot of accounts with just more than 10,000 followers. This is the sweet spot where you see a lot of people who, I go look at the like count, and like, I don't know why I've got mine set so you can see it, but it still won't show it. I'm like, motherfuckers, I actually literally want everybody to see the like count on my stuff. Because it is a signal that no, this is a real following. And it sounds silly, but still. But you see these accounts that are like 10, 12, 14,000 followers, and it's, again, they're getting 20 to 50 likes and no engagement on their posts. I'm like, okay, this person seeded their following, bought it to try to look like they're a little more popular than they really are. And I say this to enthusiasts too, or young coaches, new coaches coming up, to not be discouraged when you see people with larger followings, because let's say someone's an established, known leader, person in the industry. I've said a lot of those names, your Luca Hosevars, your John Goodmans, Pete Dupuis, on and on, Tony Gelcourt. And they've got, certainly well more than 10,000 followers, and in some cases very substantial, all the way up to Jordan Syatt. But these are people that you've been hearing their names around the industry, and they're featured on all the podcasts, and they're writing for the major publications, and they're speaking at all the events. And just through the ether, more and more people find them. And if you've got a handful of people that no one has ever fucking heard of and has never done anything other than their social media, maybe they're amazing at social media. There's a few of these. I've seen some of their names around. But for the most part, if there's no other capital to back up their account, you look at Mike Israetel. Poor Mike just lost his account. He's rebuilding. Mike's, a well-known educator, tons of YouTube stuff over the years, speaks at tons of events, and he's the owner of Renaissance Periodization. Like, he's in a really established, like, mega volume educator. There's a reason why he has grown as much of a following as he has, right?
So he's been doing the work. That's the thing.
He's been doing the work, and people are in such a rush to skip that step. People think, oh man, like my social media is growing really rapidly relative to the people who aren't buying followers. And this is also started. I started focusing on Instagram at all in year 9 of my career. Right now, I just recently passed 11 years, and it's growing fast. And I think unless Instagram really does something weird, it'll continue to still grow fast. And I enjoy it. Like, I think some people just get burnt out on the idea of social media, or they discard it, think, oh, it's vanity metric stuff, whatever. It's like, honestly, it's been profoundly valuable in my career. Now, I was also really busy, and a lot of really cool stuff was happening before I ever invested in it. I didn't need it, but I've decided that it's something that I value, and I'm willing to leverage it. And it's turning into a lot of cool stuff. And it also lets me support a lot of other people.
Yep. And I think you hit a lot of nails on the head. And like I said, I'm helping newer coaches work on their social media and really try to get them away from the mindset that your following is the number one priority. Because I think a lot of coaches are like, oh, my following's so small. Like, what am I supposed to do? Like, why bother? And I'm like, look, at the end of the day, if you're an online coach, like, it's not about your following. It's about the message you're getting out there and the people you're trying to help. The following will come over time. Full transparency, my page has grown maybe 500 followers in a year, which I don't know if that's good or not. I really kind of stopped paying attention because the business has grown. And to me, that's the most important thing. And I've made good connections. Social media I'm consistent with, but at the end of the day, I still have a lot of work to do. If I want to get to like a bigger thing, bigger profile, bigger following, there's other things I can be doing to put my name out there, writing other podcasts, and just building my branch network out. I guess you can say you're someone who, to the untrained eye, would look like an overnight Instagram success, but you've done 9 years of work before that, plus you're connecting with people all the time, you're putting in work, you're writing, you're podcasting, you're doing things other than just posting on social media. So I think that's where a lot of coaches miss that connection, that you have to put work in for time to see that kind of rise in your social media.
And that's why I try to talk about it through various different media. Like, on my social media, I also share elements of the process, right? It's not just like, hey, this big secret and this mystery. It's like, here's how to do it. I've had some really cool, successful, well-known names in the industry I've been chatting with, who were either inspired by how I was doing some things, or like directly came and asked me some questions about it. And here, approach it this way, approach it this way, approach it this way. And, all of a sudden they're starting to see their social media grow, because they're actually pretty well known. It's just that they hadn't embraced, in this particular case, Instagram. And as soon as they started doing something that was getting their stuff shared around a lot, then a lot of people are like, oh, fuck, I know that person. Boom, follow instantly, because like, oh yeah, like I've heard about a podcaster. Oh yeah, she's a really well-known, legendary person in the industry. So it's just that people who already knew who they were are finding them.
Yeah.
When Lee Boyce was a little bit late to the Instagram party by his own admission. Now he's been going on it for a few years. But when he did, he even I think wrote something about how he grew up his following fairly quickly. Well, it's because the guy had such an established reputation as a writer for everything. I mean, like, you go to his website, it's like he's written for the Wall Street Journal. It's not just like,
is he really? Holy jeez.
He's got like a whole bunch of really cool writing credits, which I'm totally inspired by. I'm like, fuck, right? Like, here I go, and I get this publication that you look at Lee at like Wall Street Journal, Huffington Post. Holy Christ, dude. But it's super cool.
Yeah. And I think, and that's the thing, like you kind of inspire me too, because again, you're in year 11 of your career, but you started it at 32. Like, I'm 32 now, and I feel like I'm a late bloomer. So look at what you've done, especially over the last few years that I've known you. Sometimes I get discouraged. I'm like, well, I want to do this. But at the same time, I'm like, no, I'm still young in this game kind of thing. So I have higher aspirations for myself over time, but it's been amazing to see like what you've done. That's why I'll always like, I'll try to share your stuff, tag you and stuff, and tell people to follow you, because you're one of my favorite accounts, obviously a little bit biased, but you don't bullshit. That's the most important part. I think there's enough bullshit in the industry. You're to the point, if the message is a little blunt for people, sometimes that's the way it is, but you always come from a place of, I want to help. And it's evident when you're writing in your content.
It's funny because I'm almost shocked at how little like trolling and bullshit I get. Right? I always try to tell coaches like, hey, like don't be afraid of this kind of stuff, because it's not as common as you think. The industry leaders are definitely not coming to like police what you're saying, but the internet can be like a really rotten place, and yet it's very rare. Like I had a post recently. It was the second most popular post I've ever had. It was just about showing up. Yeah, when you're tired, when you're stressed. This is not a hey you. And there was some troll account goes in, not a follower, is like, yeah, show up when you got the flu. Go to the gym when you got the flu. And I look at this and I'm like, delete comment, block. This is not someone who has any genuine intention. This is an idiot. Then there's a few people who like in a more constructive way kind of push back at them. And my response is, you missed the point. Okay. I don't try to be a nasty person to interactions like that. People see that doesn't play well. I know a few people who just, I don't want to be associated with, just simply because they're fucking assholes to their followers.
For no reason either.
For no reason. Right? Insecure people that just can't tolerate anything other than just worship from someone who's following them. But I get tagged in one thing, and it's a psychologist, and big red X's like tags me, shares my post. Cool, thanks for the share. It's big red X's. No, this is wrong. Do not do this. Do not do this. It's like, and I just look at this. I'm like, I'm gonna ignore this. There's nothing good comes of this. But it's like, you completely missed the point. And yet this post has been saved thousands of times, shared thousands of times, because it resonated with a lot of people who like, you got to show up. You got to do the hard work when it's not always easy, but like, go read the fucking caption. It like goes into that. You need to take time for rest. It's not about grind culture. It's just about appropriately knowing if you want something good, whether it's a physique or a career or whatever, there's going to be times where you have to bear down when you don't feel like it and work hard. And I really hope everybody understands when it's like, I take days off of the gym. Yesterday, I just wasn't feeling great. I've been battling. I had vertigo 2 weeks ago. I've been dealing with brain fog and fatigue ever since. I was getting a haircut yesterday, and my barber has like comic books all over his wall, which is super cool. But as my eyes were darting around to it, it tripped something, and I just like, oh, I'm not feeling great.
Wow.
So I had a consult after that, dug in, held it together. But then I'm just like, there's no workout today. I still have a Costco trip. I still have, to go meet a friend who's moving away. It's like, I'm going to take the day off from the workout. But I'm also someone who, for the last 2 decades, with like life, like some life stuff years ago, has consistently done the workouts. So I know where, hey, taking a strategic day off is actually a valuable thing. And that's also part of my message. But I've gotten very little negativity, despite how people, always say, oh, you don't sugarcoat stuff. It's straightforward. It's no nonsense. But it's also being thoughtful and conscientious about how you say things. And the internet can be a tricky place right now, because there's a lot of thought police. There's a lot of people who, it's an easy, low hanging fruit thing to say, but it's like people are offended by everything. Well, there are people who are just determined to find things that make them mad and yell at people on the internet because it makes them feel like they're contributing something to society, when there's a whole bunch of stuff going on there. That's a different topic. But if you come across those kind of people, you know what? Mute them, restrict them, block them, just get rid of them. Because if their intentions are not genuine and constructive, if they're not showing up with otherwise really positive stuff, I've got a handful of followers. They never support things in a positive way, but every once in a while they'll pop in and they've got to try to contradict or like manufacture an argument. And usually it's just like, they just miss the point, or they're constructing something out of their own, like sort of tribal ideology agenda. And I always mentally file those people away, because I'm like, why are you here? I would respect someone's ability. I would give them room to offer thoughtful counterpoints, if they've otherwise fairly overwhelmingly been positive and supportive, but when they only show up to be contradictory, there's something else going on there. And then I think that person is, I think that person is resentful or doesn't like something about what I'm doing, but can't turn off the channel and be stuck in this loop of negativity. There are a small, very small handful of people I kind of feel that way about the industry, but I don't follow them because I don't want to be tuned into that channel. And the reason why I may not like them is because they're assholes to other people, or they're hypocrites, or there are, as of yet, things that I know about that have not come to the surface that would cancel them instantaneously. It's not my job to, be the arbiter of that. And I just know that they put on maybe a somewhat of a nice show on social media, but they're assholes. And I'm just like, I'm not following this person. I will not share their stuff. I will not engage with them. They're not coming on the podcast. But that's the extent of it. But if I drown in negativity because I'm exposing myself to this person on a constant basis by following them, I'm an idiot.
That's
if you have people that you find that most of what they post actually kind of irritate you, and you find that you want to contradict or argue with it, or you don't disagree with it, the answer is not arguing with that person. The answer is unfollow that shit.
Yep.
If you want to make a difference in this industry because you're frustrated because of Gwyneth Paltrow's Goop website or whatever bullshit that Jason Fung or the Snake Diet guy or any of these other charlatans that are floating around our world, or the song and dance influencers, if you want to do something about them, take all that experience, all that knowledge, all that wisdom that you have, everything that you've been doing with your clientele, figure out a way to share it in a really cool way on your social media that helps more people, that draws more eyes to your door, that ultimately brings more followers in. And people have this idea, ooh, if I have more followers, that's a bad thing. I'm selling it. Fuck, no, that's bullshit. What? People discard the idea of wanting to grow a big following because they think it's somehow a bad thing. That's really born from the fact that they just don't know how to do it, or struggled with it, or suck at it.
Or they're jealous. Yeah.
Learn, learn the skill. There's a lot of skill involved in it. Learn the skill, get more eyes and ears on you and your message. Share a better message. Be a positive, constructive force in the industry. With a larger following, you can take the accounts you believe in, whether it's someone like Logan Dubé. Anyone listening, go follow Logan Dubé. You'll see why when you open up their account. Logan is a really amazing educator in our space, doesn't have enough followers. Go follow Kelly Coffee. If you want anything on addiction and, fat loss in a really constructive, positive way, go follow Kelly Coffee. And I have more examples I know how to just pull out of my head right at this moment. So I try to share them all through my social media. And I get to do that because I've shared enough stuff that has brought enough people to my door that I get to share friends and people that I believe in, who I think are awesome human beings, with the people who happen to follow my work. Exactly. And that is a really cool thing to be able to get to do.
Yeah.
I don't spend my time shooting down and ripping on, other than the casual mention like I just did, about the quote bad guys in our industry. I think if I can drown out those people on at least a certain number of human beings' feeds and take the space of that with better info, and inoculate people against bad information with good information, that is the best thing I can possibly do. And I have absolutely no time for people who spend their entire time complaining about what's wrong with our industry or the world and giving themselves a big pat on the back. I did my thing. I got to police how other people think and how other people speak and what they're saying and doing. My contribution is just to yell at people and lecture them on why they're bad. That is garbage ideology. We see it all over our society. Yeah. And if I smell that on an individual, I will have nothing to do with them, professionally or personally, because I can't stand that attitude. And it comes across all ideological spectrums, usually the extremes on all sides. And I have no time for these people.
I love that. That's one of the best things I've ever heard you say, and just in general. And I think I'm the same way, where I've noticed trends where over the last couple of years, especially because I've spent more time on social media from not going out, where I'm like, why am I following this person? Like every time I go to their page, there's a negative connotation around just, I don't want to say like sound woo, but like an energy of like, it's always negative. And I'm like, I don't want to constantly open my feed to see negativity. It doesn't help me. And even there's big names, and we won't name them, who've done a lot of this stuff of just shaming and naming. And I'm like, maybe 3 years ago, I'm like, okay, that was the popular thing to do. And now I'm just like, it's such a waste of time. It's a waste of energy, and you look like an asshole, and people don't want to work with assholes necessarily, especially not my clients. They're busy moms, busy dads. They don't have time for that kind of stuff in their lives. I'm not going to be the coach, be like, don't do this, do this. And I've dabbled in it in the past when I was, less kind of, I think, experienced with my messaging and how to talk to people. But I see it as a waste. And I was talking, I think, with Jordan about this a couple of weeks ago on my podcast. Like, your social media is only what you make it out to be, right? You control the feed, you control what shows up, you can mute and unfollow whoever you want. And there's nothing wrong with that. Like, I don't have any of my family members on my Facebook newsfeed. I don't, because a lot of the stuff they post or talk about, I don't agree with, and I don't need the negativity, and I don't need to start Facebook arguments with them, because it's a waste of all of our time. So that's my message for coaches out there. Like, you control your feed. If you want to follow good people, follow good people. Don't buy into like, you need to be negative to be successful kind of mentality, because Andrew's a great example of, you don't. You're just pure positive all the time. And
you know what? There's room. It's not about toxic positivity, nor do I think that's what you're alluding to. There are times where I'll be a little bit more, unvarnished with certain things. I mean, I've said plenty of unvarnished things that were very direct here, but like you said, I don't agree with tearing other people down. Every once in a while in our industry, there's a tear down. Someone has done something either really stupid or very unethical or illegal, or God only knows whatever they've done. Or maybe just someone is fighting with someone else. And the person who's going into attack mode, maybe they've done it in a very like ethical, honest way, a way with integrity. Or maybe they're just, one of these character assassins that really just needs to tear other people down to build themselves up. And you'll know the difference. You'll know the general tone of what they do normally. But it's not a bad idea sometimes to be aware of who's roasting marshmallows on the bonfire, because those are the same people that will dance on your grave as you're being torn down over something innocent too. I've been attacked on social media on very rare occasions over nothing. And thankfully, there was nothing to it. There's no substance to it. And there's just a malicious human being who's just determined to attack everyone who doesn't agree with her extremism and her ideology. And thankfully, almost no one showed up to participate in that. But you still are kind of aware of the few people who do. And those are some doors that are now closed, right? Yeah. I'm out of time, brother. I gotta go.
That's it, man. This has been great, dude. I appreciate you taking the time. Let everyone know where they can find you really quickly, and I'll drop it in the show notes anyways.
All roads go through my Instagram, Andrew Coates, Coates Fitness. If you have questions, you send me a message. I will respond. I respond to everything. I will always create the time. Connect with me there. My podcast, Live Free and Diet Hard Podcast, you can find that linked there. Everything's on my website too, andrewcoatesfitness.com.
Yeah, buddy. Thanks again for taking time, man. It's great chatting with you.
Appreciate it, brother. Thank you so much.
Have a great rest of your day, man.
Later. Awesome.